The Daily Raz Show with Jack Wilson.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. I'm Jack Wilson, and we'll get started today. I just finished watching the news, so I got kind of some updates on things that are going on. We had snow yesterday, as I said to everyone, and it's gone. I mean, that's New Mexico. It disappeared. The temperature is cold. Excuse me, but it will warm up later on today. I think this week we're supposed to get into the 40s and 50s, typical New Mexico. So I'm going to start today with some things because I haven't been doing emails, and I do get emails. Most of them come from the things that I am writing on the dailyraz.com blogs. So, excuse me. So I'm going to try to pick a few out today. But the first one I want to start with is because of some of the things that I've been watching with the news and what's been going on with Trump. And then I really want to try to get off of Trump. I mean, and I'm going to explain why as we go along with this. So this one is from, I won't mention again last names, but this is from Gary in Enid, Oklahoma. And I guess I'm a little surprised that that I'm getting followers from Enid, Oklahoma. Oklahoma is typically a red state, and Gary kind of proves it. So his email had several things in it, but it starts with, and really that's the main content. Gary says, why do you hate Trump so much? Well, okay, Gary. Gary, I know where Enid, Oklahoma is. I've actually been to Enid, Oklahoma a couple of times when I was doing business back in that part of the world. And I've been to Tulsa and Wichita and Broken Arrow. And so I know the area. And to answer your question, I do not hate Trump. I don't even know the guy. I don't know him. I have a real dislike for him. I dislike Trump, and I dislike what he stands for. And the people that following him, I don't dislike them. I think they're lost. I think they're really lost sheep. But I do dislike him. And I'm going to go into yesterday. I did a podcast on the 10 years of Trump that we've been living with since 2015 when he came on the scene. Again, I go back when he was riding the golden escalator down in his golden world. And from 2015 through 2016 and all the way up to today, we've been living with him for 10 years. So I'm going to put that. I woke up this morning. I wake up early. I get up early. Sometimes I wake up at 4:30, and I try to do some work. And then I try to get in the studio early in the morning. But I'm going to try and put this in a little bit of perspective. Again, understanding that Trump has been, he's been around for a long time, but he's been in our lives, intertwined in our lives, in some ways, I believe, making our lives miserable. But you got to put this in perspective, and you can't let him make your life miserable. But let's look at it. This is a little bit shocking. If you are 70 years old, Trump has consumed 15% of your life. 15%. Now, consumed is a big word. But if you think about it, he has. You can't get rid of him. You turn the everywhere. He's everywhere, everywhere. And a lot of it is, I was thinking about this morning as I was having some coffee, and I thought, we even define our friendships by this guy. Prior to Donald Trump, we did not define our friendships by a singular thing. And now it's before we even consider friendships. Usually it's like, is he a Trump supporter, or is she a Trump supporter? Or are they Trumpsters, or do they support Trump? And it's not just, it's both ways. Both sides are asking this question. It's part of the equation. Can we even have conversations with these people because of support or non-support? So again, from the podcast that I did yesterday on this, it's a definition of tribes. It's tribalism. We've divided up in tribes. But getting back to this, if you're 70 years old, Trump has consumed 15% of your life. He's everywhere. He is everywhere. If you're 60 years old, he's consumed 16% of your life. Now, that doesn't sound like, well, that's not much different. Well, it gets better. If you're 60 years old, he's consumed 16% of your life. If you're 50 years old, 50, now we're getting down into the real demographics of the decision makers and the economic things that go on in this country. 50 years old, Trump has consumed 20% of your life. But not only Trump, not only Donald Trump, but his supporters, his administration, and everything that surrounds it and goes with it has consumed 20% of your life. Okay? If you're 40 years old, and, that's a substantial part of the country, the decision makers, the real backbone of the country, probably people that are 40 and 30 years old, real decision makers. If you're 40 years old, he has consumed 25% of your life. 1/4 of your life has been consumed by Donald Trump and his ideas and his people. And also consider that you sleep 1/3 of it, of your life. What does that tell you? I didn't even put those numbers together. I'm going to let you do that. But this is just if you're sleeping and dreaming about him at 40 years old, he's got you for 25% of your life. If you're 30 years old, think about that, 30 years old. I mean, that's young. You're just starting out. You're being influenced by social media, everything going on in life. Your careers are just taking off. You're investing money. You're investing in your life. You're investing in your homes. All of this. Well, what's really happening is that Donald Trump is consuming 30% of your life. 30%, folks. That's incredible to even think about. It really is. Again, these numbers are even if you're dreaming about him, sleeping, 30% of your life involves him in some way, shape, or form. You can't get away from it. Now, the real kicker here is 20 years old. 20 years old, this is why they're out on the college campuses. The college campuses, they're out there trying to influence young minds And they are doing it hard. They're pushing and selling it hard, real hard. You know why? At 20 years old, Donald Trump is there 50% of your life. He's been there 50% of your life. Or again, he's been here 10 years. You're only 20. He's been on stage 50% of your life. Now, you wonder why they're on college campuses everywhere. These are minds that are influenced and easily influenced, of course. They don't have life experience to judge things by. So the question is, do we see a trend here? The ages that are going to be generational change for our country have been influenced the most by the autocratic ideas of this administration and his followers. It's the young minds, the 20s and 30s, that have been influenced the most. They've been on stage 30% to 50% of their life. They are seeing these influencers, and I call them influencers. I mean, look, these people on Capitol Hill, in Congress, in the Senate, in the House, making these, promoting these ideas. These are influencers that are seen every day with the ideas that they promote. And the thing is that television will not let them go. It was proved back when Trump was in 2015, 2016, with his goofy ideas even back then. They couldn't stop putting him on television because it's kind of like when you're driving down the highway and there's a 10-car pileup. Everybody's got to stop and look and see if there's any blood. I mean, it's crash watchers. And to me, that's what Donald Trump and his minions are. In my mind, it's like a crash watch. You can't hardly not stop watching them go by. They gave him the power in 2015, 2016. They couldn't refrain from giving him a public forum to promote his ideas. They continue to do it today in one way or another, even by mentioning his name. They are promoting his ideas. So Gary, to answer your question, I do not hate Trump. I have a total dislike for him, just like I dislike a hangover, I dislike diarrhea. I dislike him for his racist, homophobic, anti-Semitic, xenophobic, nativist political manipulation. That's what he's doing. All of these things I just said. And in today's news, as I was watching KCAL this morning, I get up in the morning and I watch KCAL, see what's going on out there. And he is trying to tell Europe that they are losing their civilizational erasure. They're going to lose that. And to me, it's a code word. I really wasn't even familiar with the word until I looked it up. It's a code word for, to me, it was xenophobic racism. That's what it is. Well, I think Germany told him to pound salt, mind your own business. But, basically what he was saying to Europe was, either change or the United States is going to stop playing with you. But we're going to take our toys and we're going to go home. Gary, I don't know, this guy or whoever is his mouthpiece or advisors, they're complete fucking morons, in my mind. They are. And with that, I am forced to dislike them immensely. So I hope that answers your question. The only thing that I would say is that I hope, people, as we're coming up on the midterm elections in a year, that they stop and take a look at all of these things that are happening on a daily basis. This is not normal governance. It's not normal. These things are, I guess, to go back with these old words from years ago, it's the shock and awe that they do to keep us unfocused on everything that they're doing. So we've got midterm elections coming up next year. I'm going to be really hot and heavy pushing on that to get Republicans out of there, or at least some in there that have turned their backs on Trump. But I don't think there are any. I think they're afraid. And hopefully I'm going to be a Gavin Newsom supporter, and I want to see him get in. I don't think we're going to hear anything for a while. I hope he gets in, because I don't see anybody on the horizon to get the Democratic Party or the other side out of the quagmire that they are in. They are just floundering around. I don't think they really know what to do right now. But something has to be done, of course. The status quo has got to go, and so do I. On this particular segment, I'm going to come back with some other emails, but I've got to drink a little bit of coffee. So, Gary, I hope that answers your email, and I hope folks understand how much Donald Trump has been in your life, the percentage. And the younger you are, the worse it's been, the worse that it has been. And 20, 30, and 40-year-olds, it's really bad. Because, again, 40 years old, he's in here 25% of your life. 30 years old, he's been in your life 30%. And at 20 years old, he's been in your life 50%. He's been in your life more than your mom and dad. So I hope everybody stops and thinks about that. So anyway, I'll be right back. I'm going to grab some coffee, and we'll go back and answer some more emails. Okay, we're back. I'll need a microphone, don't I? We're back on another segment. I wanted to do a couple of emails, and I just spent, 15 or 20 minutes talking to Gary about an email that he asked about. And so I wanted to grab some coffee and come back and kind of go over another email that I received from someone in, his name is Donnie, again, no last names, in Fort Myers, Florida. And I have been to Fort Myers, Florida as well. So, Donnie, I know it's been rough down there for you, but his question was, and I know we've promised this a number of times, but his question was, when are you going to talk about Santa Fe, New Mexico, et cetera, and the weather, and tell us about that? And then he kind of went on to say that he and I assume his wife, they want to visit here and maybe consider moving. And I think probably some of that from his email is because of the weather there and the cost of living, the insurance is going up, et cetera. So they've never been to the Southwest and have heard about it. They want to make a visit, and they're kind of trying to find some places to go to. So when are we going to talk about those things? Probably this weekend, Donnie, because Carol, my wife, and I, we're going to sit down and we're going to do some shows on Santa Fe, New Mexico in general, Las Cruces, places to go and see, our favorite places, the weather, what it's like year-round, and kind of just go over those topics. And we may do a couple of shows on it because there's a lot to talk about. And look, you can get a lot of this information, on the internet today. I mean, everybody gets information on the internet, but I think firsthand is great. And we have lived there and we have been there, so we can give you firsthand knowledge. But, just briefly, what I will tell you is about the Southwest. New Mexico, the climate is we do have a seasonal climate. It gets cold and it gets hot, but it's different, totally different. I have lived in Florida, just for informational purposes. I lived in Indian Harbor Beach and in Lauderdale by the Sea. And I traveled Florida and the whole Southeast. I've also lived in Atlanta. So I'm very familiar with Florida. I've been to both sides of the coast, and I know what it was like in the 70s, and I know what it's like today. And, it's changed a lot over the years. And my family, they still go to Florida and visit. I don't care for Florida. I don't like the weather. It's got a lot of people living there now, a lot of traffic. So I can't answer to the costs of living there. I'm sure because of the hurricanes and damage and that the insurance is probably going up on home purchases. However, forget Florida. Let's talk about New Mexico. New Mexico is in the high desert. When we say the high desert, it is a desert. And the high desert, for example, Albuquerque is 5,000 feet. Our home is at 6,000 feet. We live in the would be, I guess, kind of the foothills of the Rockies. It is in the Rockies. Santa Fe is 8,000 feet. So, we get snowfall. We also have very dry climates. That's why my nose is itching, excuse me. But it's very dry. In the summer, the sunshine, we get over 300 days a year of sunshine. In the summer, it gets hot. At our home, in July, it'll hit 100 degrees easy. During the day in the 90s. Now, that sounds like, forget it. But no, it's not that bad because there is no humidity. So when you step out of the sun, it's not hot. It is not hot. You can literally work out all day and not perspire. So the weather here is wonderful. And of course, when you go up into the mountains, into the Sangre de Cristo Mountains, up around Jemez or Santa Fe, or even up in Albuquerque in the mountains, with the trees, it's beautiful. The night sky is fantastic. The weather is 90% of the time. It's just wonderful. So, I guess it's just a great place if you love the outdoors. Fishing is fantastic for running rivers and streams. Fly fishing is very popular. Camping is very popular. In the winter, skiing, of course, is very popular. I have skied the most of the areas around here. I do not ski anymore. I let my equipment go a few years ago. It's an activity sport that I kind of did not do a lot anymore, and I just did not want to risk the injury. So my skiing days are over, but there are a lot of ski areas around here if you're into winter sports. There is boating in some areas, but, look, this is not a boating area. I mean, we have a few reservoirs and places to go boating, but that's not generally what this part of the world is. So you've got Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, Colorado, but Colorado is mountains. And I must tell you, we're probably going to talk about this weekend, the mountains in Colorado. They're fantastic. We have done trips to of course, Denver, but usually we go over on the other side to Telluride, Durango, and Ouray, and up in those areas, Silverton. The mountains are just fantastic and beautiful, and they're only a few hours drive from Santa Fe or Albuquerque. So, again, the weather is fantastic. The cost of living is low. It's not that high. You can look up on the internet for median prices on houses, etc. The only thing is work. If anyone that's talking about moving here, I guess my question would be, what are you going to do to live? If you're going to start a business, you really need to look into that. And probably someday I'll do some podcast on businesses. But starting out in New Mexico for a new home choice. I guess you're making the right decision. You would want to make a couple of trips to check the areas out, and then you have to decide what you're going to do when you get here. Jobs are very hard to find. It's a service economy. There's not much manufacturing because we are a desert. So we don't have a lot of water source. And so manufacturing here is not going to happen very easily. So it's basically a service economy in New Mexico and Arizona. Arizona is hotter. It's, again, beautiful. Arizona is beautiful because the northern part of it is mountainous, up around Flagstaff and going down into Sedona before you go down into Phoenix. But when you hit Phoenix and south, it is hot. And when you go to Tucson, it's hot in the summer. And some people find it unbearable hot. I don't. I like heat. I love the hot weather in the Southwest. I have lived in the Northeast. I don't like cold weather, and I've lived in the Southeast and Florida, and I don't like the humidity. But I love the Southwest, and I love the weather in Southern California. But so the only thing I can tell you is you make a trip out here. You'll probably be like me. You'll fall in love with it. And then you have to make life choices on how you are going to, how you're going to exist here and how you reside here. But, most people that come out and see it, they love it. And that's the whole southwestern part of the United States. So, I would say do it. And, of course, when you come in, listen to our podcast. I promise we're going to try and do them this weekend and get into more detail about New Mexico and Arizona and the places that we like to go to. And, we make trips over to Scottsdale, Arizona. But, we got to do these shows this weekend because I know people want to hear about it. But if you're talking about moving here, great. You just have to find something to do. But if you can do it, then it's a great place to live. You would probably, if flying in here, you would probably fly into Albuquerque, get yourself a car, and you can go just about anywhere out here within a couple of hours. Santa Fe's about an hour drive, maybe a little more, depending on how you drive, from Albuquerque. Again, this weekend we will talk about places to stay for people that are coming in. Those folks that are coming in and come into Albuquerque will give you some ideas on places to stay. And, and where to go. But yeah, you definitely would want to go up to Santa Fe. And again, it's not that far, hour and 15-minute drive. Get a car at the airport and go up and give yourself, if you can, there's so much to see out here, at least a week. If you could do a couple of weeks, you probably see more. Then you can get up and do Colorado, and really get a real glimpse of the Southwest. So anyway, Donnie, that's my answer on that. We'll have way more for you this weekend. I'm going to do follow-ups on some of the things I've talked about today when I do some of the blog writing today and tomorrow on dailyraz.com. Follow me there. And if you get a chance, subscribe to this channel. And we appreciate your watching and listening, and we'll talk to you again. Thank you.